There was one thing that Sara and Stuart Shank weren't prepared for on their court day, and that was their teenage foster son, Dayshawn, interrupting the judge. Not only did they not expect his expression of love, but they anticipated his 6-year-old brother Michael to blurt something out instead. The Shanks' court experience has brought hundreds of viewers to tears, but the story didn't start there. After 3 years of fostering them, the couple attempted to adopt the boys officially. This is the family story. Hello, wonderful people. I'm Scott Leffler for WonderBot. And here is impromptu court speech from a 13-year-old brought his foster mom to tears. Before we begin, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell for more amazing videos. In August 2018, the Shanks went into a court proceeding that would define the rest of their lives. They'd fostered 2 boys for over 3 years, something which neither of the 26-year-olds expected. They all quaked in their chairs as they waited for the judge's ruling. During the hearing, the 13-year-old boy interrupted the judge to explain his love for his foster parents. His speech caused everyone, especially his mom, to shed a tear. To understand the impact of this moment, we should start at the beginning. For Sara Kozad, fostering children was her life's dream. Both she and her husband, Stuart Shank, carried this dream into their marriage. In an interview with Good Morning America, Kozad said that she mentioned fostering 10 minutes into their first date. "I was impressed with how we rolled with it," she admitted. "I never felt compelled to have biological children, and it just made sense if kids in our community need a place to stay and we have a house, that's what we would do." For most people, discussing becoming a foster parent seems like an odd choice on a first date, but foster parenting was such a significant ambition in Kozad's life that she couldn't help but mention it. And Shank shared her long-term goal, the perfect match. The couple fell in love quickly. In 2014, they married in their home state of Washington. Despite both being in their early 20s, they planned to begin fostering 2 weeks after they returned from their honeymoon. But fostering children would bring up challenges that they never anticipated. Despite the couple's motivation, they worried that they were too young. Most U.S. states require a minimum age of 21 to foster parent, and Kozad was 23 at the time. Although they were of legal age, they believed that their lack of experience would inhibit their relationships. The social worker who spoke to the couple recommended that they take in toddlers and newborns to start. "It went great and we loved it," Kozad wrote on her website. In the beginning, these Shanks had taken enough classes to shelter toddlers. They cared for newborns who needed it, either for a couple days, weeks, or months. The couple supports reuniting the children with their parents whenever possible. "You get to play this small role in raising kids and being a support for a family when they need it," Kozad told Good Morning America. They cared for the children until the toddlers could return to their families. Although the Shanks support reunification, they still acknowledge how difficult it can be. On the website, Love What Matters, Kozad addressed those who believe that letting go of a child will be too hard. "And that's true, it is hard," she wrote, "and I cry every single time a child leaves." Kozad adds that they maintain their relationships with all of their foster children and their parents. "Our relationship doesn't have to end just because they return home," she elaborated. In time, these Shanks would encounter a child they didn't want to let go. Throughout their years of fostering, Kozad and Shank never harbored any ill will towards the families of the children. "We walk hand in hand with them," Kozad said. "When we go to court, I'm sitting next to their moms and supporting them." The couple worked to reunite families in every situation. Fortunately for them, a situation arose that they never expected. After all, what would happen if the child couldn't return to his family? At one point, Kozad and Shank were assigned to take care of a 3-year-old boy named Michael. They only had to take him in for 2 days, which they accepted. Although they didn't know it, Michael would capture their hearts as no one else had. Near the end of the weekend, a social worker asked the couple to extend Michael's visit to 1 week. They agreed. They hadn't even noticed how quickly time flew by. That weekend turned into a week, and that week into months, and those months into years, Kozad wrote on the couple's website. It wasn't long until Michael no longer seemed like a guest. He became a member of their family. Of course, Kozad and Shank adored the 3-year-old, but reuniting him with his family was still their priority. They were reminded of this when a family member came to visit. Meeting Michael's brother would present the Shanks with the hardest choice of their lives. A few months after the Shanks took in Michael, they agreed to supervise a sibling visit. Michael was scheduled to talk to his older brother, 10-year-old Dayshawn. The second Michael caught a glimpse of his brother from across the playground, he ran with all his might and jumped into his arms, Kozad wrote on Love What Matters. It was that second that Stuart and I looked at each other, and we truly understood the importance of Dayshawn and Michael needing to be together. Kozad and Shank acknowledged that the boys couldn't reunite with their parents. If they wanted to keep the boys together, they would have to take in Dayshawn. But they were hesitant about fostering a preteen. After all, they'd not taken the classes for handling a soon-to-be teenager. Specifically, Kozad worried that she was too young to parent. At the time, there was only a 13-year age gap between her and Dayshawn, but once she started talking to him, all her fears fled. We fell in love with Dayshawn as soon as he opened his mouth, Kozad later said. The couple describes him as empathetic and social. While Michael was more reserved, Dayshawn was effervescent and, as Kozad called him, a ham. Being his mom feels so natural, Kozad later wrote on her website. He doesn't even seem to notice that I'm so young, or he just doesn't care. To him, I'm just his mom. Even so, the couple struggled for years over an intense moral decision. Although the Shanks loved the two boys, they found themselves debating over their unexpected plan. Adoption wasn't our primary goal, although we were open to it if it became available, Kozad wrote on Love What Matters. We advocate for reunification whenever possible. Unfortunately, reunification wasn't possible for Michael and Dayshawn. If the couple didn't adopt them, there was no guarantee that they would stay together. But they didn't have the experience to care for Dayshawn either. What could they do? Kozad and Shank ended up fostering the brothers for 3 years. Throughout that time, they experienced what they called a flip-flop of emotions. They continually debated whether they should work harder toward reunification or adopt both boys. We would support the goal of reunification, and we would mentally prepare ourselves for that, and then all of a sudden the case plan would be switched to adoption, Kozad later wrote, and then 6 months later back to reunification. Despite the struggle, fostering provided the Shanks with a joy they never anticipated. Although the couple debated their stance on the situation, they still worked to develop their parenting skills. They took classes with parenting coaches, they attended conferences to talk to other foster parents, and they accessed plenty of online resources. Through their learning, the couple employed trust-based relational intervention, TBRI, a parenting skill that helps kids who experience trauma. As Kozad describes it, you become a person they can attach to before you fix their behaviors. The classes helped the couple feel more comfortable with fostering a teen. In the meantime, Michael and Dayshawn became their longest foster kids ever, and the family grew close. Parenting the two boys became more and more natural. On her website, Kozad recalled that she eventually let go of her internal debate. This process really made me realize that I needed to just sit back and enjoy every single moment with our boys, because I truly had no control over what the future held. Despite the couple's flip-flopping, they eventually settled on adopting Dayshawn and Michael. They worked on arranging a court hearing for official adoption. However, the process took a lot longer than they expected, months upon months upon months. Meanwhile, Michael and Dayshawn grew incredibly excited to be adopted. Even so, the couple continued to foster other kids. Kozad said that Dayshawn makes it his personal mission to welcome every new child who comes to us. The Shanks still couldn't guarantee that the adoption would be approved. Would they convince the judge? On August 13, 2018, the Shanks and two brothers attended the final court proceeding. Family and friends traveled to celebrate the potential adoption. At this point, the couple had fostered the boys for 3 years. Michael was 6 and Dayshawn was 13. Although most people assumed that the adoption would be approved, the Shanks were still nervous. There was always a slim chance that the court hearing could go awry. The entire court proceeding was recorded on video. It was a highly emotional hearing, but one moment in particular brought people to tears. During the meeting, the judge hypothetically asked, "You think they all agree that this adoption ought to go forward?" Based on the judge's tone, most attendees assumed that they didn't need to respond, but Dayshawn did reply. The 13-year-old interrupted the judge to express his love for his parents. "They all love us," the teenager cut in. Now, having the floor, Dayshawn continued, "We love them. Our whole family is the best thing we ever had. I'm glad to have these people in my life. I'm glad to be their son." At this point, Kozad was visibly crying. Dayshawn added, "They're the best thing I ever had. If I could wish for anything in the world, I would wish I could just love these people for the rest of my life." But the story isn't over. The Shank family changed for the better. Dayshawn's mother wept tears of joy at his unexpected declaration. The judge, clearly moved, responded, "If I had any doubts, they're gone now." She finalized the adoption then and there. Dayshawn's wish was fulfilled. The Shank family left the courtroom to celebrate with friends and family. They rode a limo to a donut party with people who love them. Photographer Krista Welsh shot the heartwarming pictures of the official adoption. With their adoptions finalized, Michael and Dayshawn took on the last name Shank. According to Kozad, everything has changed and nothing has changed. They had already been living as a family before the court date, but now it felt more official. If someone told me 5 years ago I would be 26 and adopting a teenager, I would have thought they were crazy, Kozad said in an interview. Now I can't imagine it any other way. By the time the Shanks adopted Dayshawn and Michael, they had fostered 14 children. The family agreed to foster more children, specifically teen moms, LGBTQ youth, and victims of sex trafficking. It's heartbreaking that these demographics of teens sit in social workers' offices or shelters for weeks or even months on end, since so few homes are open to them, Kozad expressed on Love What Matters. After the adoption, the family welcomed in a 14-year-old who needed a good home to stay in. Sometimes people say, "We're incredible people," Kozad told Good Morning America. That's not true. It's just showing up and trying to do your best. We meet incredible kids and families, and it's a great privilege to care for kids in our community. The Shanks truly believe that fostering children is the most rewarding thing one could do, even though it isn't easy. No child should feel grateful to have a family love them, Kozad asserted. It should be given.